Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Thinking Like a Bank, where we show you how to think like a bank using the same strategies and principles that banks use to help you find more financial freedom in your life. I'm your host, Sarah Ibrahim. So, to kind of touch back on the core principles of what we talk about having safe and predictable income, saving on taxes or lowering your tax liability, owning or investing in real estate, entrepreneurship, and scaling your business. And for today's episode, I want to talk about scaling your business, growing your business, as well as some other investment techniques. And I have with us today a very special guest. His name is Brad Costanzo. Did I say it right?
You did.
Brad, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you. And I skipped over your bio. He's a serial entrepreneur, consultant, investor. Started and sold, currently sold several companies. His investment ranges from equities to crypto and private angel investments in companies that range from e-commerce to real estate and even space. He's the founder of Costanzo Marketing Group and Costanzo Capital, and is the host of the hit podcast Bacon Wrapped Business. Brad, welcome to the show.
It is good to be here. Thinking like a bank. Let's do it.
Yeah. Thank you. Before we jump into all the fun stuff, do you mind sharing with us like some of your background, how you got into all of this?
Yeah. So my background was in financial services. I was a financial advisor at Prudential Securities for several years, and then a consultant with their separately managed accounts group, where I was working with financial advisors and helping them understand how to better portfolio allocate their funds inside their richer clients, where there's 100,000 minimum in their separate accounts. And I got out of that in 2007 and 8. Obviously, the market was going to crap back then. And I discovered the world of online digital entrepreneurship and marketing. I actually was really good at sales, but I had no chops and skills in marketing. So I started a home study course, an online course, just teaching different things at the same time with some other partners. I started a software company. And just really started to use those as a laboratory to figure out this, like, how do I sell products or services to people online across the globe, and just really understand how to use all of the new tools and things that are available with internet-based marketing. And then throughout that, I've had a couple of smaller exits, no FU money yet, to where I'd be just laying out on a beach saying watching the world burn. But it gave me opportunity to start new things and consult. And in the past I want to say 8 years, I guess I've been primarily consulting. I have some startups and I have some equity in some other companies, but I've been working with companies as a growth and marketing advisor, ranging from small service-based businesses to larger venture-funded fintech apps and programs and SaaS and information marketers and personal brands. So I don't have one specific specialty I focus in as far as an industry goes, because I believe that most of the core principles of business growth apply to you regardless of what business you're in. And my specialty in this area has been really simplifying business growth and stripping it down to the key principles that allow any business to grow. And then in the past few months, I've been working with a couple of new partners on a startup. We are launching a new marketplace, an e-commerce marketplace for the CBD business that we're really excited about it coming to fruition, called Medclava, MEDCLAVA.com, which as of the time of this recording is still in pre-launch mode, but we are trying to become the Costco of CBD. So for one annual membership fee, people will get access to buy CBD supplements at 40 to 60% off retail price. And that has been really the focus here recently as much. So that's kind of like me in a nutshell.
Nice. Yeah. And I have been hearing CBD. Speaking of CBD, I have been hearing it kind of like blowing up recently. It's supposed to be like
huge
the
market.
Huge market.
Well, it's not even the next one. It is the current one. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry. It is the hottest supplement in the space, especially because of the beneficial effects of it, but also because when they opened the federal farm bill opened up like statewide access to CBD, because it's the non-psychoactive component of marijuana. It opened up the opportunity for people to take that in mass. And right now, one of the biggest problems is there's thousands of CBD brands. There's no real household name. There's there's some industry leaders, but there's all these disparate brands. So we're trying to create this Costco experience where, sign up for the membership, you'll get to buy ours and other pre-vetted quality brands for a annual membership fee. But it's we're trying to capitalize on the opportunity. And as the federal marijuana and cannabis regulations start to loosen with the current Democratic administration, that should be rushed through. I do believe it's a priority of Kamala Harris to legalize marijuana federally, which would really open the spigots for, because CBD is legal, but it's still constrained by some regulations. But the whole cannabis space is a really, really interesting place to be this decade, I believe.
Yeah, you're right. There's so many different ways it can go. But back to you mentioned something about like core principles of a business. Like what are, in your opinion, or kind of stating the facts, what are some core principles that you think businesses should follow or could help a business improve? So
it really all comes down to I have a couple sets of core principles. So one of them is that, whenever a business owner comes to me, they come to me to grow. They're not necessarily coming to fix operational problems or human resources or even financing, unless, they're, trying to sell to me or whatever, but they want to get more customers and grow their business, right? But what they always focus on is, how do I get more customers? And in fact, that's actually only one of the three ways that you grow a business. And there's only three ways to grow a business. Everything else fits inside these three. And that's, one is to get more customers, right? That's what everybody wants. Give me more customers. But two is you get the customers you have spending more money with you. And number three is getting to spend money more often. So more customers, spending more money more often. Every other aspect of business growth typically revolves around those three pillars. And there's different ways to do that. Like, when you start to explode that out, like, how do you get more customers? Well, there's a lot of different ways. Although most of my clients come to me and that's what they want to start with, because it's the sexy one, it feels like new money, right? But the things that I usually start with is, well, how do we get them to either spend more money first and then more often, and then let's start working on more customers? Because if I can get them to spend more money, and that might be raising prices, that might be adding upsells and cross sells and opportunities for somebody to give me more money. It might be adding a premium package. So for instance, if I've worked with, for instance, other business coaches or life coaches and health coaches and people of that nature, just, single solopreneurs, professionals. And, they either charge, let's say they charge by an hourly rate, or they have a certain package of $1,000. There is always a portion of people out there who are willing to spend 5-10 times what your average person is selling. But most business owners don't really understand that the power of a premium product, and that what people will, I'm glad I have this pop filter here, and what people will pay. So a really good example is I had a client several years ago who was a dating coach, dating and lifestyle coach. And he was used to selling his time by the hour. I think he was selling like $300 or $600 an hour at the time to help men improve their dating lives, one-on-one. And, we examined who were his customers, and they tended to be executives, professionals, and some entrepreneurs in their mid to late 30s up to mid to late 40s. And that's what they really had all in common. And he's charging these people like $300, $600 an hour. And I showed him how to reposition what he was charging. Instead of selling his time by the hour, is to sell into the result they wanted to achieve. And a week later, he called me back and he said, I can't believe it. I just got a client to give me $34,000, $17,000 this month and $17,000 next month for the exact same thing I used to charge $300 an hour for, just by reframing and repositioning the way he was charging. So then his business has changed. He's got like a nice 7-figure business now because he used that premium positioning, premium package with premium positioning. So that's a couple of the ways to get them to spend more money, right? Upsells, cross sells, downsells, other packages. And then more often is, is there an opportunity to have continuity and recurring billing? Is there a way to keep them coming back for more? Because if you just have somebody just comes to you, pays you once, and then never pays you again, that's not necessarily a, what do you call it? A good long-term strategy, because it's every month. You got to, you're back at square one. So
Mhm.
I'm always looking for opportunities to add recurring revenue. In fact, the Medclava, the CBD business we're launching,
Mhm.
has that as its core principle is we want recurring revenue. So our model is we're going to charge an annual membership fee for
Mhm.
access uh, to a private e-commerce store where people can save 50% off of the retail price.
Mhm.
And what we really want is those, it's $99 a month. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, $99 a year
Mhm.
annual recurring membership. And then when you add that to the fact that people get an extra discount when they buy on auto ship, so if they sign up for every month, then we have monthly recurring revenue, annual recurring revenue. And that really makes running a business a lot easier when you know that it's coming in.
Mhm.
And a lot of business owners are really surprised at the opportunities to add recurring revenue when they're like, I don't know why anybody would pay ongoing. Well, they'd be surprised with all the different ways to add that. And in addition, it's not the only way to add recurring revenue.
Mhm.
Having a really robust referral program is one kind of way to add recurring revenue, because if I'm your client and I pay you once, but
Mhm.
then I go out and refer you business, I refer you a new client every month. That's kind of like me being recurring revenue for you,
Mhm.
even though it's not coming out of my pocket, it's coming out of, it's still going into your pocket. So I help my clients sometimes create referral programs. And then lastly is the more customers. That's where we improve the sources of traffic and attention, and then we improve the ability to convert and improve the sales process. But the other two are often easier.
Mhm.
So if I were to go back, it's more customers spending more money more often, and then everything else kind of fits underneath those three pillars.
Mhm.
And then before I pause on this soapbox, because I can talk about it forever, the other four categories of sales processes that I always assess and look to see if they're needed is, all right, well, what's your process for getting attention? And in
Mhm.
the digital space, we call that traffic, right? Or eyeballs. Like, how do you get your customers' attention or your prospects' attention? And then what's your process for your sales process?
Mhm.
What is your process to convert them? So you have to attract them, convert them, and then the third process is ascension. This goes back to getting them to spend more money. Like, how do I ascend them? In essence, how do I ascend them in the more spending more money with me? Right.
Mhm.
And the last one is retention.
Mhm.
So if they are like, how do I keep them on, especially if I've got a recurring program? How
Mhm.
do I make sure that they're constantly coming back for more? And
Mhm.
I've found that if you have a solid process to get attention, convert that attention into sales, convert those sales into more sales, and then convert those sales into sales more often, then even if you don't have to get them all right, you just turn each of them up like by 10%,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
you can double your business in a very short amount of time.
Mhm.
So that's typically what I do when I'm working with the customers. I pull it all through this framework, and then it gets a lot deeper than that, probably deeper than this
Mhm.
podcast episode will go. But that's kind of the way I think through business problems.
Okay. Yeah, and I like that too, because also myself as a small business owner, my first assumption is new customers, new
Mhm.
clients, new customers. But like you say, there's a couple more that is important, but there's a few more things you need to kind of master beforehand. This way, because what if you get a whole bunch of new customers, but you don't have the ability to upsell them, to keep them? Then it's almost like you're just spinning your tires with just new people coming in the funnel. You need to be
Exactly.
able to have systems and processes in place to keep them, upsell them, sell them more often, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and it's not or one of the key things is that by doing that, by making more profit per customer, because that's what levers 2 and 3 do,
Mhm.
people spending more money with you more often, that gives you more profit to put into new customer growth. And
Mhm.
if you can spend more money, and whether it's advertising or whatnot, to do the most expensive thing in business, which is
Mhm.
acquire new customers,
Mhm.
then that gives you ample opportunity. If you're just starting off, all focus should be on new customers,
Mhm.
though, right? Because you need those customers. But once you kind of get that going, the focus should be real quickly, how can I serve them more
Mhm.
and better, so that I can receive more money, charge them more, and more often? And
Mhm.
then it obviously starts with how can I serve them more, not just how can I charge them more.
Mhm.
But you'd be surprised at all of the low-hanging fruit there is for professionals and business owners to serve their customers in ways that they never thought
Mhm.
was there, an opportunity for them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now let's say somebody is new what are some methods they could, like, I guess, apply on their own or with your help? What are some initial methods they could do to start getting their name out there, to start driving some initial traffic to their website, to their email, kind of to their funnel?
So it really, a lot of this depends upon their business,
Mm-hmm.
right? So some of their business is going to be more conducive to, let's say, online advertising. So a lot of business owners can simply use Google AdWords,
Mm-hmm.
or I think it's called Google Ads now.
Mm-hmm.
For people are searching for this. If somebody is searching for bank on yourself policy,
Mm-hmm.
et cetera, or broker, et cetera, you can run ads to this and hopefully get that. Or you can run Facebook ads or social media ads, YouTube, et cetera, just to get your message in front of people. Where, with Google search, that's, obviously where they have intent, they're looking for you. And the other way is to just get stumbled upon.
Mm-hmm.
And, Facebook ads, YouTube ads, things like that are really, a great way to get stumbled upon. Typically you lead with content marketing
Mm-hmm.
on this. The other ways are to do, referral based programs and just hit your network. I call this kind of like side door networking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for instance, what I would do if I was in your position, somebody like yourself, as an example, is, so if you were to approach, you and I are friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you approach me and say, hey, Brad, I've got this really great savings and investment vehicle called a bank on yourself policy, et cetera, et cetera. And I think it would really help you. Would you like to, can I show this to you? Or in essence, can I pitch you?
Mm-hmm.
That's what most people do. And
Mm-hmm.
it's very front facing. It's almost like going up to the girl in the bar and saying, hey, you're really cute. I'd like to take you home. Right. And if you're friends, it puts, if I'm your friend and I know I'm not interested in this, it puts me in an awkward, position to where I have to actually say no.
Yeah.
And it also misses a big opportunity to get referrals.
Mm-hmm.
So what I tend to do and suggest other people do is kind of go in the side door, which
Mm-hmm.
is, you would approach me and say, Brad, granted, this is for people in your network, people
Mm-hmm.
who kind of know you, et cetera. Hey, Brad, how's it going? Establish a little rapport. So listen, I could really use your advice on something. Can you, can I tell you what I'm doing? And then let me know if you have any insights for me. Okay, well, first of all, everybody loves to give advice,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they love to be tapped for their insights. It makes them feel valuable. So
Mm-hmm.
now you've just pre-framed this conversation in a very strong way. Now, the second piece would be to say, listen, here's what I'm doing. And you explain the basics of what you're doing. You don't go into too much detail, but it's like the sizzle parts.
Mm-hmm.
For the past X number of years, I've been, working with clients to help them achieve financial independence with a very specific strategy using a very special type of whole life policy that allows
Mm-hmm.
them to do A, B, and C, right? These are the benefits. Clients love it because of X, Y, and Z. Now, okay, that's what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Why, a good other thing to add on to it is why you're doing it. And I love doing this because I love, watching a client's eyes open up like, oh my God, I didn't know you could do that. And then see it completely revolutionize the way they save and invest their money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's where I can use some of your insights. I'm still growing my business. I've only been in this business for X number of time. And although I've had success, I'm really looking to take it up another level and serve more people. You're a successful guy. You've probably got some great ideas or insights. If you were in my shoes, what would you do to get in front of more people to tell this more story? Like, who do you know, for instance, that might be open to hearing more about this? So what you just did is you told me what you're doing and you teased me without selling me,
Mm-hmm.
but then you asked me for my advice in two ways. Like, what would you do if you were me? But then also, who do you know? Where would you go? And I'd kind of drop those two in. I actually like that line. Who do you
Mm-hmm.
know and where would you go?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not just saying, who do you know?
Yeah.
But I am dropping it in there so they hear it. And then I go, where would you go? And what that does is it puts me in a very relaxed state of, I don't feel like I'm being prospected. I go, Sarah, well, I was actually having lunch with my friend Bob the other day, and he was mentioning that he's not getting any yield on his savings account. what you said seems pretty interesting. I could probably introduce you to him, right? So that's an easy way to get a referral because you're asking for my advice.
Yeah.
And then you make it easy for that. And you're not directly saying, hey, who can I talk to? Second of all, the other part, because I'm relaxed and you're not prospecting me, I might immediately start to think about, okay, what you said makes sense. I'm sitting on a bunch of money and I've heard about this. Tell me more about it. I might be interested in this. Right. So it's
Yeah.
a very effective way to stealthily and ethically prospect your circle of influence for more business, where they don't ever feel like you're coming to them to get their money. In fact, there's an old adage in the capital VC space or whatever, which is if you want money, ask for advice. If you want advice, ask for money.
I like that. Yeah.
Because I could come to you and I say, hey, Sari, I'm launching a new CBD business and it's going to take over the world, et cetera. And we're trying to raise $1 million. And I'd love to tell you about it and see if you're interested in investing. And you would probably say, okay, Brad, tell me about it. And you go, okay, this is 90% of the time what happens. I like it. I don't think it's right for me right now, but let me give you some advice. This is what I would do. Because you asked me for advice.
Yeah.
I mean, money.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, well, I'm not gonna give you my money, but I will give you my advice. And one of the reasons I do that is I feel like it makes me feel like I'm still adding value to you without just shutting you down, right? So by nature, if I want somebody's advice, I might go ask them if I can raise money with them, and they'll usually want to hear the pitch anyway. So then I just get the advice I want. On the flip side, I've already explained how that works. If I want money in one form or another, I'm going to ask for their advice, because advice is typically free, right? People love throwing it out there. And then if you whet their appetite enough, all you really need to get them to do is say, well, tell me more about that. I might be interested. So that's kind of like guerrilla marketing, circle of influence versus like buying ads in media. There's a million other ways to get attention and traffic, but that's like, really one of the most important ways. Then once you get that attention, right, it's important. I'm going to go off on another soapbox here.
No problem. You're fine.
So it's important to stand out in a crowded market. So I know that your primary business as an advisor is helping people do bank on yourself style policies, right? Like that's what you do. That's the core of your offer. And a lot of companies, most business owners and businesses have competition, because if you don't have competition, you're in a pretty bad market because there's no money to right? Yeah. Like, if I'm not selling ballet dancing lessons for unicorns don't exist. I could be the best in the world at that. So there's typically about 7.5 ways, I say a half, to stand out in a crowded market and to get a leg up on your competition. And I'm going to go through these briefly, but because some of them I can go into real in depth, but the typical general ways to stand out from your competition, these are the ones that most people are kind of familiar with, is, you can be the cheapest or the most expensive. You can be the most specific and niche down. So maybe you only do bank on yourself policies for ballet dancers. This is an example, right? Like that's really niche. And people are like, you're a ballet dancer? You need to talk to Sari. Or you spend the most money on advertising and brand awareness, like Coca-Cola and big brands. So those are the ones most people know about. But the other ones that require more nuance, some of them are pretty well known too, but I'm just going to rattle these off. Social proof and endorsements, right? So if you've got the more people you have, like maybe you have a huge social media following, maybe you've got a really successful podcast called Thinking Like a Bank, and tons of people follow this, and then a lot of people who have a lot of clout are saying Sari is the best advisor for this you've ever seen. Right? Social proof and endorsements really help you stand out. Social proof can be harder to get, endorsements, depending on who they are. But if you have some celebrities, it's even better. Number 2, so there's social proof, but then there's demonstrable proof and results. So if you can demonstrate that your product or service has helped these people in these specific ways get these specific results, obviously that's hey, you just demonstrated it, like say no more. And that's different than social proof and endorsements, right? That's somebody, what they feel about you. This is what result they've gotten. The other one is, or number 3, I would call it, is goodwill and helpful content. So what you're doing right now by putting out content to the market in a way that it's not all about you, right? Obviously, you would love all of your listeners to get on the phone and contact you and say, Sari, tell me more about this bank on yourself policy. Help me understand it. But one of the ways they would do that is because you're bringing people like myself on and other experts, and you're giving helpful content and building goodwill. And if you build enough goodwill in the marketplace, people are going to pay attention and be like, I really like this guy. He seems like he's here to help. So I'm going to let him help me. Now, number 4, this is the unique selling proposition, or having a unique mechanism or a big idea around what you're doing. And, we could talk for days about this, but a unique selling proposition is, well, what makes you and your offer, what is the primary advantage of me doing business with you, right? Versus everybody else I can do it with. So if you and Bob Jones, another bank on yourself advisor, are standing right next to me, and like, all things being considered, well, why should I choose you? Well, maybe you have a unique selling proposition that says, because I will take your phone call at 2 a.m. if need be, right? That's an example. But then you also have to think about, who is your unique selling proposition being compared to? So is it being compared to direct competition, or is it other competition? So your competition might be a general financial advisor or a general insurance agent who doesn't sell what you're selling. So in that case, your unique selling proposition is your unique mechanism, which is this bank on yourself policy. So in your business or service, if you don't have a unique mechanism or a way to, it doesn't have to be unique, it just has to appear unique to the client when they're evaluating alternatives, right? So it's really important to kind of think about that. Like, why should I pay attention to me? The last 3 are actually the last 4. I added a new one to this. So this is, I guess, 8, is being an interesting character. Now, this is hard to do, but this is much more if you're trying to be an influencer and trying to get attention. Howard Stern is one of the most famous examples. He's an interesting character. Half the people love him, half the people hate him, but even the people who hate him pay attention to him because he's interesting. All of the conservative and liberal, like the far right and far left extreme talk show hosts are this, like, they're polarizing, they're interesting, they're weird sometimes. But what would make you interesting? Like, maybe you've got a patch over your eye and you talk with a lisp, but you're smart as hell, and you're able to get results for people, right? Like, that's interesting. Like, why? I don't even know why I like to pay attention to this guy, but for some reason I just have to. So the last 3 is empathetic bonding. This is one of my 2 favorites. So it's like, if you can bond with me empathetically in a way that lets me realize, like, wow, this guy really knows what I'm going through. He gets it, because he's able to say back the words to me that I've been saying in my head, such as, do you ever feel like you're, spinning your wheels, and, or even more specifically, do you ever look at the account, your bank account, like especially your savings account, your cash, and it's earning 0.17% interest, and think to yourself, there has to be a better way to put this money, but I don't trust the stock market and this, that, and the other. And then you stay up at night and you worry about, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Like, do you ever feel like that? That's just one quick example, because, like, put yourself in my shoes and talk to me the way I'm probably talking to myself subconsciously. And if you do that just right, you hit the nail on the head. And I go, you get me, right? You had me at hello. And then the last 2 would be having creating a 10-star customer experience. We've all, heard of like 5-star customer experiences, like, 5-star, like 5-star Amazon reviews, whatever. But what would be a 10-star? Like, what would be the most amazing experience a customer could possibly have in dealing with you? A service so outlandish that your competition be like, wow, I can't believe he's doing that. Like I always, you don't even have to do that. You can just think about what that would be and then you can back it off.
Mhm.
But most companies give clients a 3-star experience
Mhm.
or 2.5, because that's the average. 5 is awesome, but how can you
Mhm.
give them a 10-star? So I always think about that because you'll get talked about. And then the last thing is helping people generate epiphanies and revelations. And these are similar to empathetic bonding, right? But this is really about helping people see things in a new way and giving them a powerful new perspective. Now, because I know what Bank on Yourself and the things you do does, like that, it's all about giving people epiphanies to go,
Mhm.
crap, I didn't know you could do that. The challenge there, though, is that beliefs are one of the hardest things to change in somebody. A lot of people believe that insurance products are not good investments.
Mhm. Mhm.
They believe insurance is for insurance and investing is for investing, or they've been screwed over or had a bad
Mhm.
experience with, you know, regular life insurance policies. And you're trying to get them to go, wait, we're different. We're different than that. So you're trying to give them an epiphany that makes them go, huh, like I never thought about it like that before.
Mhm.
Right. So a metaphor is one of the most powerful ways to do this.
Mhm.
And I know that in the Bank on Yourself methodology, like there's this metaphor of being a bank. And if you can say, like, I remember the first time somebody ever explained it to me in
Mhm.
this way, I started to have a little epiphany. And they said, look, imagine you were going to start the Bank of Brad Costanzo. What would you have to do? And it was like, well, you would have to, lease the land, build the building, staff it,
Mhm.
fund it, go through all of these, get the permits and do all this other stuff, right? You'd have to
Yep.
start it up. But then once you started it up and you started to get depositors, after a little while, you're gonna have value build up, and then pretty soon, not tomorrow or the next day, but pretty soon you're gonna have the ability to draw on that value, and it's gonna be really powerful. But like most new businesses, do you know how long it takes the average new business to be profitable
Like,
and to recap their startup costs? And like, I don't know, like, well, maybe you can find data. A lot of times it can take 5 to 7 years just
yep.
for a
Mhm.
normal business or a bank to reach break-even status. But then once they do, then it's off to the races.
Mhm.
Right. And if that makes sense, because it's like real world bank, I can see that. You go, that's the same way it works with a Bank on Yourself policy, except there's no real estate, no employees, none of this, none of this, none of this, none of this. But you're gonna have to wait a few years before it breaks, before the money you invested breaks even and you can get access to all of it. But
Mhm.
man, once it does, sky's the limit.
Mhm.
And all of it, right? That metaphor can allow me to visualize what's happening and have a breakthrough to go, oh, you just made a really complicated thing make sense. I get it. Like, let's take it from there. And that can sometimes be all somebody needs to say is, dude, I get it. Let's do it. Where's the
Mhm.
paper? How do I sign up?
Mhm.
So that's kind of my, now it used to be 7.5. Now it's 8.5 ways to stand out in a crowded market and crush your competition.
Wow. Yeah, you obviously know what you're doing when it comes to sales and marketing. Yeah, definitely. I loved all those, especially the last two for sure. Yeah,
That's why I left them for the last. They're really powerful.
yeah.
They take a little bit of thinking and thought, but that's where I work with clients, is I help them think through those things. And
Mhm.
really help them do the hard work. Like, it's easy to just spend money on advertising
Mhm.
and be the cheapest or the most expensive or be the most niched, but it's when it comes down to these nuances, that's where you get a lot of the real explosive growth.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. And I want to, yeah, thank you so much for sharing all that,
Mhm.
those marketing pieces and sales pieces. Super powerful. I want to kind of change gears now and get into a little bit on the capital side, the money side. So
Yeah,
what's your experience as far as that, as far as investment and capital management goes?
I have done every stupid move known to man. Not understanding position sizing, not understanding like swinging for the fences, putting all my eggs in one basket, and betting on wild shots. I still bet on wild shots once in a while, but having lost everything off of like, one was how many times did I lose everything? Once was in 2000, the bear market of
Mhm.
equity, when the dot-com bubble burst, and I was heavily leveraged and I lost like $120,000, which at 26 or 7 years old, that was
Yeah.
my life savings, and it was
Yeah.
poof, it was gone. I
Yeah.
was now in debt. And then I built it back up in real estate investing, and I bought like 4 houses and I flipped them and I made about 120,000. And then I put that into natural gas and oil wells and I lost it all. Like, is this ever going to end? Because I just kept on swinging for the fences and putting more and more in. And then I got gun shy for a while, and I just was like a cash hoarder, and I was a deer in headlights because I felt like I was stupid. But then what I really did is I started to invest in myself and my education, in my entrepreneur and in my own business. And as I started to do that, I started to realize as I invest in myself and my skill set, that brings all types of different options. And then as I started to look at everything as I did as an investment, because I look at my time as an investment. I look at the IP that I have as an investment. If I'm working with you, if you're my client, I'm investing my time and energy.
Mhm.
And I treat that as important, if not more than my money.
Mhm.
Um, and uh, and then that allows me to look at other things such as, like, I've bought businesses before, and I've looked at that as an investment. And sometimes I do that creatively. I bought businesses for zero money down, and I've like totally owner financed and really creatively. But those are some of the, those types of investments. But the other types of investments I've done, and especially more recently, besides, some angel investments, which are with my risk capital,
Mhm.
um, I like this year I started getting really heavy into, or this past year, into cryptocurrency. Um, but I didn't do it the way I would have done it in the past, which is, oh, that sounds good, throw a bunch of money in it and just
Mhm.
hope it goes up. I said, and this was back in August, when I have a couple of close friends of mine who had already made a lot of money there, and said, hey, we're coming up to a new bull market, pay attention to this. So I looked at the month of August and I was like, I'm not as busy this month. I'm going to make it my job to learn everything I can about this market, so that I can, if I make a move here, I'm going to do it wisely and I'm going to understand what I'm doing. So I've probably put in 2,000 hours worth of studying in the past 6 months, but it's paid off very handsomely with the crypto profits I've made. And I'm starting to understand this whole new world. And I'm using small position sizing and good risk management in order to do that, so that I don't lose everything. And then recently I've been looking at other yield strategies that the cryptocurrency market offers that are, still a little, some of them feel too good to be true, but they're pretty damn good, and I'm riding that wave while I can do it. So
Mhm.
that's that's kind of where I've been in the past with investments. But yeah, I always look at a combination of like the time, energy, and money
Mhm.
needed to do this. Because if I can invest a little time and energy and I don't have to put in money, that's great.
Mhm.
That's why I've gotten equity in multiple businesses with no capital.
Mhm.
And at the other times I've invested capital in, if I feel as though, I typically will invest capital if I think I can have an influence on its growth as
Mhm.
well, and that they'll tap me. So I don't
Mhm.
know if that answers the question, but that's kind of how I've looked at it.
Yeah, definitely. To kind of make it more practical, let's say I came to you and said, "Hey, Brad, I have a business idea.
Mhm.
It's $50,000. Would you like to invest $50,000? What are some
No, but I'll
questions
give you
you?"
some advice.
Yeah, what are some questions you would ask to kind of screen this investment to figure out if it's good or not?
Well, so I'm going to find out about the, I mean, you have to pitch me, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So depending on the pitch, assuming that it's a, assuming that it's a good product or service with a
Mhm.
unique selling proposition or a unique reason why it'll do well, that stands out, that makes logical and emotional sense.
Mhm.
Assuming that, like, I'm also going to look at the operator. If it's a business, I'm going to look at your background. If you've never done anything in business,
Mhm.
your idea better be amazing, and you better have an amazing team around you in order for me to invest. Otherwise, I'm probably not going to do it.
Mhm.
Even most venture capitalists, which I'm not a VC,
Mhm.
will say they bet on the person more so than the
Mhm.
coin. Or actually, I said coin. This is one of my strategies in cryptocurrency. Is I look for the larger cap coins, but then I'm, more than anything, I look for the people's records, because cryptocurrency is not new. It's been around for like 10 years.
Mhm.
And certain people have had tremendous success in other things, and now they're on to new projects. And because winners tend to keep winning,
Mhm.
I like to bet on the people even more so. Even if I don't understand the coin's technology, I'll bet on the person because they've launched these other 3 successful ones.
Mhm.
So I'm going to look at the history. I'm going to look at the competition. I'm going to see if there's a moat, if there's anything that would Like, how easy is it to copy this? How is it to spin it up? Like, is, you know, this is a great idea, but what if Amazon or Google gets in this business tomorrow? Would they be able to put you out of business? I mean, in most cases, yes, but in some cases it's like, well, do we think, there's an opportunity to grow unimpeded for a while and really make a dent? And then I'm going to also try to cover my ass on the exit and say, how can I exit if this thing gets in trouble? And how can I get out? So those are some of the broad ones, but it really depends upon the opportunity.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. A lot of logical questions. You're asking, what's going to happen, and also too, like one sign of it too is, would you be a consumer to this? Like if you had an idea, if you had an idea, let's say if you wouldn't buy it for yourself, you shouldn't invest in it either.
Right. And there's right now at this stage in my life and career, I'm not looking to invest in capital in startups so much, because of the risk is so high. I'd much rather invest in a company that's already established, that is maybe having some problems, and it's an easier to turn around, or it is something I'm investing in as a part equity owner, and we can take it and run with it, because the failure rate of startups is huge.
Yeah,
and I say that, like, I told myself I was never going to do a startup again, for myself, and here I am a couple weeks away from launching a new startup. So I don't always do what I practice, what I preach. But so I tend to look at more established companies that are like, okay, I can see this, like a few tweaks that we can turn this thing around fairly easily.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, definitely. And as we're kind of winding down now, so like in a basic sense, how do you help people? Like today, somebody calls you, says, Brad, I need help. What are some things that you could, are you a service-based consultant, or how does it work?
Yeah, typically. So I'm selective in who I work with. Like they have to be typically somebody who's got a business. I don't do a lot of, like, back to the startup. Like I don't work with a lot of people who are just like, I don't know what I want to do. Right. I'm not here to help people get into business. But once they have a business, a product, a service, or something that they're actually selling, I prefer companies at a minimum doing like $100,000 in sales at a minimum. The bigger not the bigger the better, but 100 to 500,000 is a really great sweet spot, because these are business owners and entrepreneurs and professionals they've got some traction, they know it works, and they're just trying to get a lot more juice from the squeeze. And that part's super easy for me. So the way I work with clients, it really kind of depends on the client and what they need, but I don't do much hourly consulting, although if I'm always open to it if I think I can solve a problem in a short amount of time. But otherwise, the way I typically work is we start off with what I call it like a VIP day, or an intensive day. It's usually 1 or 2 days where we work together, whether it's virtually or in person, and dive deep into the discovery and ideation process, and we map and plan out what needs to happen. And I've got a process to make this happen really quickly and efficiently, so that they walk away after 1 or 2 days with a very specific game plan and clarity and confidence on what's going to happen next. And then if we both decide it's a fit to work together, they retain me as a consultant. It's typically either fee, performance-based. I don't do a lot of performance-based work as much anymore, but I do if it's something I think like, I've got this, low-hanging fruit, no-brainer. Example was, I had a client who was in the e-commerce business, and they had a customer list of like 200,000 people that had never been emailed ever.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, this is either amazing or terrible. Like, if you've never emailed them over 5 years, they might not remember who you are, but we're going to try that out. I said, let me manage your email marketing for you, and pay me a percentage. I won't even charge an upfront fee, or not much for one. And, but that's because I knew I would hit that out of the park, and it was a really successful client relationship. But sometimes it's fee, sometimes it's equity, sometimes it's fee plus equity. And it really just kind of depends. But yeah, I mean, we work individually and sometimes in small groups with some of my other clients to get them really on the path to understanding how to grow their business without adding complexity.
Okay, nice. And how can listeners connect with you?
So they can send me an email to brad@bradcostanzo.com. That's BRADCOSTANZO.com. Just shoot me an email. And if you like the smooth sounds of my radio voice, you can always tune into my podcast, Bacon Wrapped Business with Brad Costanzo. Sizzling hot business advice guaranteed to make you fat. Profits.
Nice. Thank you so much.
Sarah Abraham is going to be, I think it's either, it might be next week or the week after that your episode drops on Bacon Wrapped Business.
Oh, nice. Very cool. Cool. I'll be sure to add in all the links you mentioned in the show notes.
Please
and then, thank you so much, Brad, for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. To learn more about what we do and how we can help you grow more wealth, please visit www.finassetprotection.com. That's FIN assetprotection.com. The topics presented in this podcast are for general information only and not for the purposes of providing legal, accounting, or investment advice. On such matters, please consult a professional who knows your specific situation.